12 miles east of Glasgow, you'll find a town that has spent its entire lifetime either being celebrated with achievement awards or lambasted with negative awards. Welcome to the conundrum that is Cumbernauld. Like many people, my first experience of Cumbernauld was the 1980 film Gregory's Girl. And at that age, I really did think that those grey angular buildings represented the future. Now, Cumbernauld is thought of as a child of the 1960s, but if you look closely enough, you'll find ancient history here too. The Carrick Stone is the only remaining open-air Roman altar in the whole of Scotland, dating from the time when soldiers were garrisoned at the nearby Westerwood Fort along the Antonine Wall. Fast forward to the 14th century and stories tell of Robert the Bruce lifting his banner here before marching to Bannockburn. Little remains of Cumbernauld 14th century castle, once visited by King James IV, James V and Mary Queen of Scots, but bricks from the original building were used in the construction of Cumbernauld House, built by the Fleming family in the 18th century and now restored as luxury flats after being gutted by fire in the late 19th century and falling into dereliction. A short walk from the Carrick Stone and Cumbernauld House brings you to the original Cumbernauld village. In an 1838 gazetteer, Cumbernauld was described as having a beautiful situation and being chiefly inhabited by weavers. Regular passenger services to Glasgow began in 1870 and the village grew steadily with mining and quarrying replacing the weaving, but it remained just one of many small communities in the rural central belt. That is, until the 9th of December 1959, when the land surrounding the village was chosen as the site of a new town to relieve the housing pressures in post-war Glasgow. Nothing would ever be the same again. The first new residents moved in 1958. The target population was 50,000, later rising to a staggering 70,000. And a popular TV campaign boasted of a new way of life, with a catchy slogan. What's it called? Cumbernauld. Cumbernauld allowed architects and town planners to indulge their dreams of a new way of living. But have the underpasses and the bold new architecture stood the test of time? After all, this was an age when very little regard was paid to what the residents might actually want. Public artworks were an important feature of the urban landscape. The town artist, Brian Miller, became responsible for many of the works. But Cumbernauld most enduring image is that of its shopping centre, one of Britain's most famous brutalist buildings, and a hugely significant post-war urban experiment. Whilst it is recognised as Britain's first shopping centre, the dream behind it was much bigger. It was designed as a mega-structure, placing all of the usual shops and offices of a town centre under one roof. Revolutionary at the time. It was designed by Geoffrey Copcutt, a new brutalist. It is quite simply the most polarising building in the whole of Great Britain, and to be honest, it's not hard to see why. Once called a soaring citadel in the meadow, it won many architectural awards in its early years, but more recently has twice won the Carbuncle Award and was named Britain's most hated building on a Channel 4 show in 2005. In 2022, the local council announced that it was to be demolished, a decision that has been decried by architects and historians as a complete outrage, given that Cumbernauld Centre is a landmark building of 1960s British brutalism. To find out what goes on in the hidden corners of this brutalist monolith, I've come to see Lee and Alan of the Cumbernauld Alternative Network.
Well, I dreamed it up during lockdown while studying textiles from home, just during a part of the course, and it got nominated for the Bridge to Business Awards, and we were a finalist. So once I finished college, I decided let's do this for real in the community. We had limited materials and I had an old tent, so I started making all sorts of things out of this old tent. So that was the first project that we ran. And we took a bunch of kids and a bunch of adults to a festival once we'd made all the decor and put it all up. Lots of abandoned tents. Once we done our first one, we started just turning up team-handed and just gathering up the tents, filling up our cars, filling up our vans, bringing them back here, processing them, cutting them into fabric, separating all the zips and all the different bits, and then making stuff out of them. Well, my partner Alan, he does the trash music workshops, and it's a bunch of teens, and they've all been playing on trash barrels originally, but now they've progressed on to sort of full band set up on the stage, and they have played at Solfest and Cumbernauld Theatre. I like Cumbernauld. I even like the sort of brutalist architecture. Strangely enough, there's something in the sort of obscurity and the sort of ugliness that's actually quite nice.
Not surprisingly, everybody here has a view when it comes to the infamous Cumbernauld Centre. The majority opinion is that it should be demolished. Is that the right decision? Do you think they should knock this down?
Yes. Every time I walk in here, my dopamine levels drop.
It's sad.
No, I think they should actually make it a listed building and actually showcase some of the wacky 60s architecture that's up there in the penthouses, and let the public see what's up there.
From brutalism to beauty, Cumbernauld is sliced in half by the M80, but as drivers shoot past the town they catch a glimpse of one of Scotland's most elegant sculptures, Aria by Andy Scott, named after the mother of the Roman Emperor Antoninus, a nod to the Antonine Wall which passed nearby. The design of the sculpture is based on the original Gaelic name for Cumbernauld, which means the coming together of waters. Now that I can finally see Aria up close, she is absolutely stunning. Now, just like the Angel of the North in Gateshead, she has to put up with the drone of a motorway. But unlike the Angel of the North, barely anybody outside Cumbernauld knows anything about her. It's absolutely crazy. Aria also welcomes Hollywood A-listers to Cumbernauld, as she sits just south of the Ward Park Studios, where scenes from Marvel's Infinity Wars were shot, as well as the hit television show Outlander. The town planners did not get everything wrong, far from it. Over 50% of Cumbernauld is green space, and there are no fewer than 4 wildlife reserves. You don't hear that when the negative awards are being thrown around. In 2013, Cumbernauld received the Beautiful Scotland Award for the Best Small City, and in 2017, the Garden for Life Biodiversity Award. The worst town in Britain? No. What a load of rubbish.
Right up the barrel so that it flies directly into the centre, and if they all collide in the centre at the same time, totally safe. All ready? 1, 2, 3.